Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. It is Tuesday, January 26th, 2021. And our quote of the day is, are you ready?
Drum roll, please.
Rituals. Rituals help us feel connected in an increasingly disconnected world. Rituals are the tools of the human workplace. That is from our guest today, Erica Keswin. She's a celebrated management consultant, speaker, author, and we're going to chat today about how rituals at home and at work can increase productivity, sharpen mental acuity, and so much more. The book is pretty interesting because, you know, we don't even realize how many rituals we kind of have in our lives, whether they're like religious rituals or whatever, and they kind of ground us. I feel like it's almost like we know there's some stability in our lives because these things exist. And so kind of diving deep into the research is pretty fascinating. So we'll get to that in a minute. Before we get into some of our other stuff, so can we all discuss where we were a year ago today when we heard the horrendous news that Kobe's helicopter went down? I'll never forget, I was at a tanning salon, spray tanning, and the woman was like, oh my God, Kobe Bryant just died, and his daughter and everyone in this helicopter. And I'm like, I just got the chills. I was like, what? And Kevin was waiting for me outside in his car, and I ran outside, and he's like, I know. Like, I just opened the door, and he's like, I know. And we spent the rest of the day in bed in utter and complete shock, right?
Ooh, I'm getting chills you talking about that.
You didn't have to be a Kobe fan to be horrified by that disaster. And I just remember we couldn't get out of the funk.
Yeah.
And it was like, as we look back now, that was the beginning of the end.
True, it was.
Right? It was like a week later, coronavirus, I think it was pretty much a week later, coronavirus had started to take hold in I don't remember
China.
exactly when it hit Wuhan, but I know, Jeff, you had an article in today's, batch of stuff where it was like Wuhan then, Wuhan now. So when did they say it hit Wuhan officially? Wasn't it at the end of December?
Yeah, that's when because I remember, Maria, it was end of January when we were kind of joking about coronavirus. Like right around now is when it was like, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying America and people were like, oh, that coronavirus, we're hearing about it. Like, who knows what it's going to be? It's creepy to think about now how lightly some people took the news. I remember we were like loading the studio with hand sanitizer, and to your credit, Maria, you took it seriously quickly. And I appreciate you as a manager in that way. It's a good lesson for me because I was like, comedy must rule, but also like, why don't we take precautions here? And like, we had hand sanitizer everywhere. We were already doubling our cleaning by the end of January.
Was it the end of January? I don't think so. I think it was February though, Jeff, because it didn't really hit at this point. We weren't talking about it because I'll tell you, the first time I remember hearing about coronavirus was at the Super Bowl. Meredith and I were on our way to either to host the Fast and Furious trailer release or rehearse for it. I don't remember exactly. I think it was rehearse for it. And we heard about this coronavirus and it's getting everywhere. And we had a driver that they provided for us. And we asked him, like, could you go get us some supplies? Like, we were scared. And so he got us some gloves and some masks and some, we didn't end up wearing the mask, but we were like hand sanitizing and we were kind of like, wait, what's happening? And then when I got home, that's when I was like, okay, how are restaurants not taking this seriously? How are businesses not taking this seriously? Like, this is, because I have like a really good intuition and I felt it. And I was like, oh shit. So that's why I went into action at AfterBuzz. And then I also simultaneously was putting a plan together for us to start shooting remotely. And luckily, because I was Zoom queen already, I was like, Steven, you and I are sitting down and we're going to figure out how we can do these shows, these after shows for AfterBuzz TV via Zoom. And so we cannot have any interruption of service. But I remember going to restaurants and being like, how is no one making us feel safe that they are cleaning, that they're doing all that? It took so long for them to get there.
You remember that even in like February?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, I don't remember that. Like I remember
End of February.
End of February.
Yeah. It was like end of February.
It's so crazy. When the Kobe and Gigi stuff happened, I remember my phone went off like right when it happened. It was like really early in the morning, and I remember waking up and just being like, holy shit, like because I would get a notification, like a news notification, and then I was the same way. I was up and I just stayed in my bed in my room. My roommate and I both the whole day were just like, holy cow. But I remember that like COVID, not really thinking it was a thing until kind of like
early March.
Yeah.
Early March is when people started taking it seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we went out, my birthday's the 2nd, and we had gone out to the bars like that February 28th, whatever it was, the date, like weekend before. And then it was literally, I've mentioned this before, but like a couple days after that, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't even think anything of it. It's crazy. It's been a year.
I know. We went to the Bloodshot premiere for Vin Diesel, and I remember like seeing his sister and everybody, and we're like, do we hug? Do we not? And we're like, we kind of did a like screw it, like hug, and then but like from afar, like a weird hug, and then after that it was over. But you know, Kobe's death and the death of everyone on that helicopter was so shocking. It reminded me of when my cousin was killed in a car accident. It was like so traumatic, and you just kind of are praying it's not that person, or praying it really wasn't true, right? I just kept praying that it wasn't true, that really happened, that maybe it was a mistake and misreporting or something. But it really kind of just was the beginning of the shittiest year ever.
Yeah.
And so
that's such a good point, because like I remember going into 2020, especially that year, everyone's like 2019 was tough, but like this is our year.
2020,
like everyone like
the number was cool.
2020 vision.
Yeah.
And you're right, Maria, that especially Kobe was sort of the first feeling of like, this is a senseless tragedy.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like 2020 was just defined by senseless tragedy, where, you know, there's some years where tragic things happen, but you can point to war or grief or famine. But like that kind of death and this sort of unmitigated pandemic where you can't really trace whose fault it is, that was the challenging thing for me about 2020, was just the sense of untraceable, complicated tragedy without any kind of villain or source, just sadness.
Well, and no one knew what to do, Jeff. Like that's such a huge point, because we were all on an equal playing. We still are on like such an equal playing field, right? We had no one to look to. We're like, what the And I remember too, going back to the Kobe stuff. It was really surreal, and I'm sure you guys felt this too. But being in LA, right? It was just like
the energy was heavy.
Yeah. It was. Eesh.
Yeah, it was. It was not good. I will say, you know, moving on from that, there's some good news today in an arena that's obviously very important to Jeff as he's going to go off and make his first feature film, and very important to us as filmmakers as well, but really as moviegoers. One of the weirdest things has been that kind of like every time you're like stressed or upset or really just need a break, you want to go, let's go to the movies. And then there's like that, you can't. Shit.
No.
It's like this weird thing that happens in your body. Let's go. Can we go? Oh, shit. And the movies are just so amazing because you just totally escape.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we have a screening room, which, by the way, you can have a screening room too for just the cost of a cheap little projector and some white paint on a wall.
Literally.
Let me demystify it for you, because my husband demystified it for everyone like 15 plus years ago. We had this like little side room at our house and like side of the garage that was locked when we first bought the house. And when we finally got the keys to the house, we're like, what is in here? And we opened it and there were little school desks in there. So they did home tutoring. It was weird.
Wow.
And so Kevin put this like big reclining couch in, and he painted the wall white, and he hit a projector on there, and we had a screening room. It was amazing. I mean, later we ended up doing it up and doing a better version. But here at our house in Connecticut, we had a big kind of garage and one big bay. The woman who had it before used to do pottery in there, Norma.
Yeah.
And so we took that pottery room and we made it a screening room. So again, the whole wall is just painted white, projector up, shooting up against it, a couple of couches in front.
It's awesome.
And we got a screening room. So we love watching our movies in the screening room. We love watching the basketball games on there. It's a floor to ceiling screen, so you kind of feel like you're at the game. But there's nothing like going to the movies and getting their popcorn and their candy and their soda and their
turning off your phone, feeling like you actually have to in respect of everyone else. Yeah. No, it's the best. There's nothing like it.
So the good news is Asian movie theaters are booming and their numbers are exploding past whatever their numbers were a year ago when things were fine. So it is a good sign that that the theaters can come back, because it is scary for our industry and for just people who love the experience, right? Like forever people are like, newspapers are dying, newspapers are still here, right? Magazines are dying, magazines are still here. Yeah, they might not be the business they once were, or they've had to transform and supplement in different ways, but like the movies can't go away, like they just can't.
No.
So, I hope that is a good sign for us here in the U.S. And I know we have a backlog of movies that, Fast and Furious being one of them.
It's going to be a good summer. I mean, maybe fall, but like, I do think like what you're saying, Marie.
Sorry, guys. Oh my God. Just hearing that is so depressing.
I know,
it's going to be a good summer. I mean, fall. And we're like, oh, shit.
Maybe summer. But
guys, we have to go through a whole more year of this. Like, listen, we were good sports. We were good sports, right? And we've all adjusted and we've made good of it all, and we've gotten better in a lot of ways. But really, like, it'd be nice to go get my nails done. I would really enjoy the experience of being able to.
Honestly, I just I'm not an anti-masker. I'm all for masks, but I don't want to wear a mask anymore.
Oh my God, guys.
The skin.
Because of everybody coming in and out of the house, we've been wearing masks nonstop. Yeah. I've been getting cysts and legit deep blackheads on my nose and on my face that I'm like, I've never seen this before. The zits and stuff, like, you get that. But the blackheads.
It's awful.
It's really bad.
Awful.
So, yeah, I think it's time for this to go. Like, why can't Trump actually be right and have it just poof disappear? Remember when he was like, one day it's just going to disappear. Poof, poof, like whatever. Poof. And you're like,
I wish.
Could that actually happen? Would that be nice?
I know. So fall, Jeff. Fall for movies.
I think so. And I think people will have that withdrawal. And when all the movies are coming out at the same time, like, I think Laura and I will just be like, every Saturday afternoon, we're just going. Like, we just have to get back in there. Yeah. So I'm hopeful. And it's surreal. Isn't it weird to think about movie theaters being full somewhere else in the world?
Yeah.
Bizarre. He showed me a picture this morning of that. I think it was that same city in China. People were at a concert.
Yeah. Life is going on in other places. Well, in New Zealand, guys, they have no cases.
Australia?
And they're all having full on lives. Like, in some parts of the world is going round. Like, everybody said here on the East Coast, Boston, and things are still going. So when we were in Boston this weekend, we went to Faneuil Hall. Absolute death.
Yeah, it was bad.
Nobody. It was so depressing. And then Newbury Street was bumping. Like, there were people and there was some energy there, but it's very strange. Yeah, to think that other places people are like living like normal and we're like, how much longer?
Yeah. Eesh, I know.
Pretty wild.
Can we be next, please?
Please. We'll be good. We'll be good. So before we get to chat with Erica about rituals, let's have our little Dunkin' break, shall we?
Yes.
Because as we talk about rituals, I think a common ritual we all have is our coffee break or our tea break, whichever you prefer. I know from my dad, it was the one thing he looked forward to every day, right? Manual labor, cleaning nightclubs, whatever. Getting that coffee every morning was his meditation. Yeah. It was his ritual. And so I feel like when we were here in Connecticut, that really became my ritual too. It's like, I'd make my coffee, I'd sit down, I would read my things, I would prepare, myself for the show, and I really enjoyed it. So Coffee is a ritual, and you can make it your ritual if you haven't already. Today we're going to be talking about the Dunkin' Refreshers that will be sure to glow up your coffee routine. So if you're not in the mood for coffee and you want to try something fruity, you can try these Dunkin' Refreshers. So they're fruity green tea based drinks.
Really good.
That are packed with B vitamins and flavor for less than 200 calories. Of course, you get the energy from the green tea.
That's right, you do.
Which sometimes that's why coffee can be so pleasant, because it'll also open your eyeballs like it did for me today. I had 2 coffees to open up my eyeballs
girl.
today. We've had a couple of rough nights.
Yeah.
And so I needed dose coffees. So they come in 2 vibrant flavors. I've got the strawberry passion fruit. Kelsey's got the peach passion fruit. I'm going to taste mine.
You have strawberry dragon fruit.
I have strawberry dragon fruit?
Dragon fruit.
Wait, it says there's only 2 flavors.
Strawberry dragon fruit is yours, and mine is peach passion fruit.
Jeff.
Uh-oh. I need to talk to Dunkin'.
Gotcha,
Jeff.
Strawberry passion fruit. Yeah. I've got the strawberry dragon fruit as well, so I stand corrected. Sorry, y'all.
Happy holidays.
I know.
Well, it's funny because when I was Happy holidays.
It's Monday, January 2nd.
Yikes. Sorry, y'all.
It's good that we can laugh about this shit.
But I have to say, it's funny that you said that because this morning when I was ordering.
Welcome to Better Alone. What?
This morning when I was ordering. Yeah. No. Wait. Okay. This morning when I was ordering at Dunkin'.
Oh my God, that was really freaking funny.
I said, ma'am, can I please get a strawberry one and a dragon fruit one? And she said there's only 2 flavors. And I was like, what? So, huh? So that's why I'm so sure that it's strawberry dragon fruit and peach passion fruit.
That is absolutely delicious.
It's really good. Mine's really good too.
Damn. I could get addicted to these.
Kind of makes me
It's
want
nice. They're tangy and they're very bright and refreshing, but they don't taste overly sweet. Like it's a nice. It doesn't. Sometimes when you have those sugary drinks, it feels like it kind of crashes your day.
Yes.
Whereas this just feels like it's adding to your day.
Totally.
And I really like the color. It makes me feel happy.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Same. How fun. And this is also a great option for you non-coffee drinkers, because I am not a coffee drinker. I'm a big tea gal, but tea can get really boring, and sometimes it's just not fun when people are like, let me get my almond milk latte, whatever, and I'm like, I'll take a green tea. Like, how lame.
Wait, but you know what? Kelsey has really come up with a cool way to, like we have those Organifi teas that have all kinds of healthy, amazing things in them. So Kelsey will steam and froth up milk in our frother, like almond milk or soy milk or whatever. I think we're out of soy milk, by the way.
You see my face just drop?
Yeah, there's a shit ton of coconut milks in there.
Yeah.
Don't froth well. I really need for my coffee ritual.
Right.
I need my frother.
Got it.
So,
we need soy. Thank you, Dr. Funk.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say?
Organifi.
Oh, so she'll take the tea, and then we make the frothy milk, and you mix it in, and you're like, oh, this is so good. It's almost like a dessert, guys.
Yeah.
So if you're also trying to be health conscious, what a great way. I had this like pumpkin spice tea in my kitchen, and I was like, oh, let's try the Kelsey. So I threw on the frothy milk. Heaven.
So good.
Really takes your tea up a notch.
Yeah, it's a great, like you said, it's a great dessert if you're trying to be better about sugar or whatnot. It's delicious. Delicious. Little tea latte
Can
action.
we discuss that I had a leftover slice of pizza today from Pizzeria Regina this weekend? There is no greater pizza maybe in this whole entire world than Pizzeria Regina, another Boston-based
Love that.
food item. So, of course, you know, we run on Dunkin', and Dunkin' and us are better together.
That's right.
Drum roll, please. Where's our there we go. We're better together, but also I run on Pizzeria Regina, and you should too, because holy moly is it delicious. Kevin orders it with a little extra sauce, a little extra cheese. It was the most luscious thing I've eaten since probably our bagel bites at Dunkin'. What? Talk about rituals. Oh,
Good stuff.
a nice refresher.
It's good. It's really good.
I'm these I could suck this down so fast. This is going to be dangerous in the summer.
I know. Delicious.
They're so smart. I have to say, I'm really impressed with them. Really.
You get it.
Okay, let's move on and chat with Erica. Like I said, she's an expert in the business of working human. She was named one of Marshall Goldsmith's top 100 coaches in 2020, as well as Business Insider's most innovative coaches of 2020. Her new book, Rituals Roadmap, offers groundbreaking statistics and tools that highlight the power of rituals in our everyday lives, professionally, personally, and of course during a pandemic that, as Jeff reminded us today, ain't ending for a while. So, Erica, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So why did you choose rituals for this book? I mean, was it because you stumbled upon that research when you were writing your other book?
It was a piece of it. It was funny. It's so great to see you again. I remember last time we did this, I was in LA.
Yeah.
And we did it in person. So hi from afar.
Hi from afar.
I know, right? It was such a great sunny day. I was looking at the picture. So I didn't necessarily seek out to write another book, especially so soon after Bring Your Human to Work. But one of the takeaways that I had after Bring Your Human to Work came out, as I heard from leaders and continued to interview people, was that the people who were most successful about having a more human culture and bringing some of the principles into their lives from Bring Your Human to Work, they were using rituals as a tool, whether they realized it or not, that many of them had rituals as a way to feel more connected to each other, to their teams, to their families, to their significant other. And I had this light bulb moment one day, which ironically was during one of my own rituals, where I have a monthly dinner at this Italian restaurant with a friend and colleague, and we were processing all the feedback from the book. And that's when this idea came to me, and I decided to begin studying the science of rituals.
So talk about kind of what your definition of a ritual is for people.
I love that question because a ritual is different. It's different than a habit, different than a routine. So my definition, there's two parts. One, a ritual is something to which we assign meaning. It's something that happens on a regular basis. There's a cadence to it. It could be once a day, once a month, once a year. I was talking last night about inauguration rituals, right? They're every 4 years. But the other part of the ritual definition is really interesting to me. A ritual is something that goes beyond its practical purpose. And so let me share an example. If all of a sudden where I am right now, the lights go out in my apartment and I can't see, and I light a candle so that I can see, that's not a ritual. But if I light a candle every Friday at 5 o'clock to signify the end of the work week and the beginning of the weekend, that's a ritual. It's on a regular basis. I am assigning a certain kind of meaning to it and purpose. And there's no practical purpose because it's not for the light.
Interesting. And so you found so much research. Like there was one piece that I pulled out that I thought was interesting. Oh, I also thought, by the way, you almost got me to start smoking, Erica. You were like, you were talking about like smoke breaks and what a ritual those are. I've always talked about the bond that smokers have with each other. That's so major and almost impenetrable, by the way, in a bad way sometimes. But I think that you also said that loneliness has the equivalent, is equivalent to having 15 cigarettes a day. So I was like, wait, should I start smoking? Is this like a good thing for me? I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. So no, and actually the chapter in my new book is called The No Smoke Break. So I like the idea of the break, and I love the idea of the bonding that comes out of those breaks, but no, let's not start smoking. But it is funny. And there's when I speak at companies, and in my new keynote that I've put together around this book, there was a Friends episode.
Yes.
That was called, right? That, Rachel doesn't smoke. But I agree with you. I'm 52. So I was around when people were having these smoke breaks and bonding.
And I was left out.
Right. And meeting their significant other, but also from a work perspective, they were productive because I would bump into you at the smoke break and we'd, shoot the breeze. What did you do this weekend? How's your dog? And then I would say, oh, by the way, Maria, I was going to call you later, or email you, and all of a sudden we don't need to go back and forth 7 times in the afternoon, which is why these breaks and these rituals are good for us as people. Our oxytocin goes up, our feel-good hormone, our stress goes down, and they're good for work because we increase our productivity.
So tell everybody about your no smoke break.
So the no smoke break it's part of your rituals roadmap. So when you think about where in your life you can put rituals in, where are there opportunities? I want readers to think about this from 2 perspectives. One is the day in their life. So some people like to have rituals in the morning, their 11 a.m. break, rituals around meals. I have always been, I wasn't a smoker, but I was always a chocolate, dark chocolate person, in that late afternoon time to have a break. So think about your day and what works for you. Some people now are talking to me a lot about rituals to help transition from work to home, especially when they're literally going from one room to the next. So the no smoke break is a time to be intentional, to take a break. And it's to take a break to connect with others on your team. It could be with your family, with your kids, calling your parents, and even more important, it's about taking a break to connect with yourself. What do you need? A leader from Facebook shared recently that she has a break ritual called 20 by 20 by 20. Every 20 minutes, she takes a 20-second break, 20 feet from her computer, just to get her away from the screen. Another person at a company
love
said,
the 20-20-20 break. We need to share that with people on social.
So funny because,
Kelsey.
My mic was on. Sorry, Erica. Hi, Erica. I was going to say,
Hi.
Jeff and I talked about that this morning, and I was like, that seems like a lot to me. Every 20 minutes. But I guess the way you just said it, it's really not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it clears your head because
Right.
once you're you keep steaming, and there's so much going on. If you don't step aside for a second, you miss so much, and you're just throwing data over data over data over data, and everything starts to burn out.
I love
and your
that.
eyes on the screen. Again, that's just what she does. I stop probably once every half an hour. There's some research by Tony Schwartz, who is the CEO of an organization called the Energy Project. And what he found that the optimal amount of time to take a break, in which to take a break is actually 90 minutes. And I remember seeing research, if you take a nap and you take a nap for 90 minutes and you just happen to wake up, you feel like $1 million. But at least for me, if I take a nap that's 2 hours, too long, you end up feeling so sluggish, right?
Yeah.
So some people say that 90 minutes, if you can do that on a regular cadence, that is how you can maintain your optimal energy throughout the day.
So wild. I like the no smoke break. We have to figure out what that looks like. I know that I was trying to get us together as a team with everyone who's kind of tangentially working with us so that everyone felt like a part of the team. Kelsey never made it happen. I blame her. But even having birthday rituals for everybody. Remember, we didn't call our friend on his birthday either. You did? Mm-hmm. Okay. But I wanted to do birthday rituals because whenever I was on a set, I made sure I was the one to know everyone's birthdays so that I would have a cake for them. Yep. And, everybody appreciated that. And it was always a nice moment where we could break from everything, celebrate someone and have a little bit of, sugar. But yeah, I think those are great. So one of the things that I pulled here that I thought was fascinating is you were talking about the toxic, stress-filled workplaces and how they affect social relationships and, how it's not expensive to create these workplace rituals for people. Mm-hmm. So maintaining a positive work culture is incredibly cost effective. The American Psychological Association estimates that more than $500 billion is siphoned off from the U.S. economy because of workplace stress. And 550 million workdays are lost each year due to stress on the job. Furthermore, 60% to 80% of workplace accidents are attributed to stress, and it's estimated that it's also the cause of more than 80% of doctor's visits.
That's crazy. Oh.
So,
right, but rituals. So where do rituals come into play as it relates to those numbers? I've come up with something that I call the 3 P's of rituals.
Yes, I want you to tell people about this.
The first P is rituals give us a sense of psychological safety, a feeling of belonging. It's the first P. The second P is they give us an opportunity to connect to purpose. And, purpose, when you feel purposeful at work, when you're connected to the purpose of your organization, your own purpose and values, you are more engaged at work, you're happier, and those have bottom line implications. Add those 2 P's together, psychological safety plus purpose equals performance. And that's human performance. So we were talking earlier, when you have these rituals, the no smoke breaks, right? Mm-hmm. Your cortisol, your stress is going down. Your oxytocin, your feel-good hormone goes up. And some of the research shows that for people that work at high trust organizations, places where they feel like they can be them, where they don't have to leave who they really are at the door, collaboration goes up by 47% and productivity goes up by 50%. And so it really makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And all of those things, I mean, as you were reading back those numbers, and I've seen them so many times, but every time I hear them, I'm struck by them, mm-hmm. is you can imagine the internal stress in your body if you were going to work in person or even remotely, and the remote part is even worse for many people, that the toll that it's taking on your body when you feel like you have to pretend to be someone else mm-hmm. and hide who you are. So the implications are real.
So the rituals, for everyone listening, is about connectivity, right? We started with your quote about disconnection, right? Rituals help us feel connected in an increasingly disconnected world. So I know as I'm sitting here, I'm like, shit, I was really, really trying to push rituals on everybody. I would have basketball nights at my house for the crew, and I would have, potlucks at work, or I would cook for everybody on the holidays when we had shitty bosses that made us work, even though it didn't matter on Christmas Eve. But I was like, okay, for everyone who's going to be stuck here working when everyone else is off in our industry, I was like, okay, we'll cook and we'll make it nice for everybody. But I was constantly trying to create connectivity because I think I always felt out. I never felt like I was in. And I always had to try to work hard to feel in. And so that's why I led the charge to make sure everyone felt in with me rather than the opposite. It's interesting.
But what's interesting about what you just said is that that's an opportunity for anybody listening. When you think about creating these rituals, you can think about them through the lens of inclusivity. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't, it can have the opposite effect. I heard a story, I swear to you, a week ago, where during COVID, there was a team in a law firm that started a ritual over the last 9 months. And the ritual was they were having a contest of who could grow the most facial hair. And every week they would check in. Now, that did not go well for the woman on the team.
Did she try? I'm like, did it not go well because she wasn't included, or did the mustache really look horrific?
But can you imagine? I mean, talk about feeling feeling left out.
Yeah.
I mean, and on Zoom, these rituals are real opportunities to hear from everyone. You're going to have your extroverts, you're going to have your introverts. And we had this in person, but I think now, what I've seen and been hearing from people is that it's even harder for people sometimes to speak up when they're on a screen. And so leaders can use rituals, mm-hmm. things like, instead of everybody, in the beginning of COVID, what I was hearing was, it was great. Leaders were checking in with their employees more than we had. Maria, how are you doing? And things were scary, and they still are. I mean, I know you personally have a lot going on. You're like, my mom passed away in April. not from COVID, but I couldn't see her. I mean, I was in the beginning.
Sorry.
And so, yeah, so every day, even now, 10 months in, there's different things going on as it relates to this pandemic for all of us.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of COVID, the leaders were checking in. And the question I get now is, do I need to keep checking in? And my answer is yes. However, it does not need to take 20 minutes of a 45-minute meeting because we also have work to do. So how can leaders use rituals, to your point, to create those connections?
Yeah.
So one leader shared that, and the team knows this ahead of time. So if you have your introverts, you can plan what you're going to say. But he goes around the room, and he says, okay, everybody, give me one adjective to describe how you're feeling today. And so if I give an adjective that shares like, I am losing it, and hopefully you feel psychologically safe enough to be honest, what's going to happen is you're not going to solve anything in that moment, but it allows the leader to then follow up with me later and have a one-on-one, which helps for, building those relationships and retention and all those important things at work. But it also then says, maybe we shouldn't give Erica the mission, the critical project for our client today, because clearly something's going on, or maybe she needs some help.
Yeah.
And so, it's a way, again, to forge these connections and provide insight and deepen relationships, but also make sure that business gets done.
How do we create rituals that are cost effective, that are actually fun though? Because the check-ins, okay, those are great and they'll work for some people and not for others, because no matter how safe you try to make someone feel, if they just don't feel it, they don't feel it. And most of that is because, there isn't that connectivity there to do that. So how do you do that in this world? In the current, climate?
Well, my hope, even with that example I just gave, there is an opportunity behind the scenes to have those one-on-ones to at least begin to move the needle. But I agree with you. A couple of ideas come to mind. One is we need to use and leverage a variety of mediums of communication. So being on Zoom all day just sucks. I mean, let's be honest. And not every Zoom is created equal, but it is very difficult. And as we said, we need to build in these breaks. But what I've seen to be effective is that people respond to different mediums in different ways. I do believe that if you have a team, at least once a week, we all need to see each other. We need to remember that there is a human behind the screen. But we don't need to do it all day, every day. So there could be meetings where we're on the good old fashioned phone. I mean, I have had, and I never thought, as someone who wrote a book called Bring Your Human to Work, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I have had some of my most productive and even intimate conversations in the last 6-9 months on the phone, where I've gone for a walk and someone else has gone for a walk. We've been outside. I'm not distracted by what I'm seeing or looking at myself and if I have no makeup on in my little square, but I'm actually connecting that way. I've also seen organizations use Slack or whatever kind of intranet texting capabilities, instant messaging, to add some fun rituals, whether it's everybody's posting things about the weekend or their dogs. I mean, again, all of these things don't work for everyone, but I would try to mix it up.
Yeah. Like we have our victories in our Slack, and then that kind of gets everyone excited, like we're accomplishing and it's fun and we're all cheering each other on. Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. Someone said the other day, I was doing an event, and in person, they used to have this big gong and everybody loved it. Well, they're not in person right now. So some people were writing the word gong on the Slack channel, which got them excited. And I said, what about if meetings are a huge opportunity for rituals? So what about somebody goes to buy a gong, and in the beginning of your team meeting, hit it for the number of times you had the wins during the week. Or what could be funny is you're home in your kitchen, bang your pot, have somebody take a video of you and upload it. And, I think what your question makes me think about is you can't force feed a ritual.
Yeah.
It's not that you can come in and say, okay, everybody, today our ritual is X. You can try, but it may not stick. And I tell leaders, don't take it personally. If many of the rituals in the book are organic and authentic, they come bottom up. They're not always top down. And the ones that tend to be the most sticky are linked to values and mission. So, I'm looking right at the screen behind you where it says better together. If you're better together with your team, what rituals can you think about where you bring everyone together because you know that as individuals and as a team, you in fact are better together.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It reminds me of when I came home from one of my Tony Robbins seminars. I was at E-News. I was so pumped up that I was like, every day at noon, we're having a dance party for a minute, guys. And so I'm in the newsroom, no joke. I would blast the music in the newsroom and I'd start jumping up and down, dancing and running through and grabbing anybody that would do it. And of course, there were some people who did it, some people who didn't. And, it's like awkward at first, and then more people would join, and then more people would join. And then eventually I got tired. But I tried. So I think it's also really important that you're sharing, like, don't be offended. Some of them will work, some of them won't. You try. I know that my attorney was telling me that this holiday they had, usually they have their holiday parties. They did their holiday party over Zoom. And he said it was the best holiday party they have ever had. And so I feel like,
what did they do?
It was just fun. Like, they just made it fun. I don't remember all the specifics, and I probably should to like bring it up right now because that is a natural question to ask. And I'm like, shit, I don't remember. But I do know rituals are built around, things that aren't as healthy for us, but it's indulgences that we can enjoy, whether it's food or drinks or, alcohol, coffee, whatever. But there are non-alcoholic things. By the way, you've been trying that Kin stuff. Do you like it?
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Interesting. Kin's non-alcoholic wine, kind of, right?
It's like a bitter almost. So it's kind of like a liqueur. Eric, I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's amazing. It's for people who want to like have a mocktail but not just make it sparkling water and like a lime, right? So it's like this little bitter liqueur sort of thing, and it has a little bit of caffeine in it, so it kind of makes you feel like you have a buzz. It's really awesome. It's called Kin. Yeah.
So, I'll kind of signify like shutting it down by making myself a margarita, and then Kelsey will get her Kin on.
That's right.
And
I made your dad one the other night.
But
I enjoyed.
Yeah, but I feel like even if you have a small company, it's like, okay, declaring like, all right, it's happy hour. We're all going to get together on Zoom, and we're all just going to have some drinks, have some laughs, talk about what's going on in our personal lives or whatever we want to share. Those are easy ways to kind of do this and get people connected. And we are going to get that done. We have a joke here. We blame everything on Kelsey. But now I think we should make Jeff the blame because Jeff's 100%. Leaving. So like he can 100%. Take the hits.
Yes, please.
But it is more fun to blame you because you really take it in stride for fun. But I think we need to get our extended team and have a really fun cocktail night because I love kind of sharing my appreciation for each of them. And I do it individually. And sometimes in Slack, we have our groups, but there are some people who are not in the Slack that should get that. Yeah. So anyhow, I think it's pretty cool, but I do love this topic. And I think that we've learned so much. I mean, the 20-minute, 20-second, 20 feet break was pretty amazing, right? Every 20 minutes, a 20-second break, 20 feet from your computer.
I'm going to try that.
Even if it's just like a stretch. And you don't have to do 20. It could be 40, 40, 40 or 60, 60, 60. But I like the idea that, you're giving yourself a moment. And I think connecting with people is so important. And it's just crazy as we were talking, so much of my experiences were coming back where I was like, I really tried. So people loved it.
I'm glad that we talked about that because it's, and also if you were to get your group together and do a cocktail night, you can say, you know what, it'd be great. We should be better together once a month, and get ideas from the group, or the ritual could be that a different person plans it once a month.
Yeah.
Because I do think, and the data show, I mean, good thing, as in my first book, good things happen when people connect, and we need to think about ways to do it where we have fun, where it doesn't feel like a chore, where it sort of represents your culture and who you are as an organization.
Well, that's also kind of the logic behind networking, right? Like networking is such a kind of ugly word for a lot of people, but the truth is you're trying to connect with somebody and hoping that you guys can work together or can figure something out to do together or whatever. Right. And you usually do it over a coffee, a lunch, excuse me, a breakfast, a cocktail, whatever it is. And you don't just jump in and be like, I need this or I want this. You have conversation, you connect, and then the other person is more likely to meet you where you need to be met or to work with you. They get to know who you are. They get to know your values. Are we aligned? Is this somebody I want to work with? You can't just, make all of that happen without that connectivity. It takes work.
Yeah. Well, and what that reminded me of, one of the beginning chapters in the book is about rituals around onboarding. I mean, so you're bringing in someone new to your organization. And, when you were talking about, feeling on the outside, I mean, what an important opportunity to make someone feel connected and that sense of belonging on their first day of work or their first week or their first month. So I thought of it when you were talking about networking, because you're networking and then you get a new job. And especially now, people are saying they are now working with people, half their team they've never met in person.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a real opportunity to use rituals to say, what is it, what's going to happen when everybody starts on their first day of Zoom work, where you show up and you're not sitting at home going, am I supposed to log on? And what am I supposed to do? Who am I having lunch with? And it's stressful for people. So that's something to really think about, because the other part is that many organizations are telling me that they may not go back to work till next summer, if at all, or even when they do go back, it's only going to be a couple days a week. So this new normal is now normal, and it's not going away. And I think rituals, if we're intentional, can really be the glue to create these sticking points.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, I know when we've worked with people, I generally will say off the top, like, listen, whoever we work with becomes family, because I like to set the tone instantly for people to know that we're a team, we're family, and I want them to feel safe. Maybe because I never felt safe, I want them to know that they're going to be loved and appreciated or whatever. And so, and then, if they don't work out, they don't work out. There's, many examples of people who just don't fit, and didn't appreciate that, or, sometimes say the right things to get in and then don't know what they're doing or whatever. But I like to kind of start there, and then it's up to them whether they meet us there too. But without that connectivity, like I told Kelsey, when you first onboard someone, there's that period where you're trying to figure each other out, and you're like, okay, is she like this? Is she like that? Can I trust her? Can I not? Is she going to do it? Is she going to not? Like, you're always kind of like, and then if something happens, are you going to take it personally? Are you not? There's all that. So
tiptoeing.
So if you can create these rituals off the bat, people get to know you as a human. And when you know them as a human, everything changes. Like, Kelsey and I spent, like a day together and then hit the road last summer.
Literally.
And from then on, we lived together here in Connecticut and worked on the show. And I said to her, the reason I feel like our relationship worked so quickly was because we had so much human time together, not just work time, that there was no question of who she was and who I was, right? I got to see, first of all, she's the most sunshine committee human person I've ever met in my life. I've never seen anyone who's sunnier consistently in my whole life. Nothing gets this girl down.
Can you come over to my house? You're not that far from me.
Absolutely.
No, she is, like, literally, you'll turn the corner, she's like, hi! And I'm like, how is she real? How is this real? So once you get to see someone's character and you really understand who they are, then you understand their flaws, you understand their goods, you understand everything that makes them them, right? No one's going to be perfect. But when you get to know them as a human, then it's a different story. And so, you can't get that without the connectiveness, which you can't get without the rituals. So this is really cool.
I love
One
it.
more super quick question, Erica, before we get out of here. Just as you're talking about the new culture of Zoom work, And I think so many of us are working at home, and we talk on this show about the dangers of waking up and getting right into your phone in bed on email, or going straight to your desk in your PJs and starting email. Do you have any like quick hit takeaways that people can do to create a little bit of a sense of boundaries between their life at home and their life at work when both of those are at home?
Yeah, it's a great question. It goes back to that rituals roadmap and saying, okay, where are there opportunities? I tell people, just like when you're thinking about New Year's resolutions, most of them are gone by February anyway. I think 80% of them have failed by February. So don't go in there and say, okay, I'm going to all of a sudden try to come up with, 27 rituals over the course of the day. I would think about the sort of the natural evolution cadence of their day and where it makes the most sense for them. For some people, the morning is great. For some, it's not. If you have a bunch of little kids running around, it might be tricky. But it is an important time to think about when you're going from home to work. Many people have started doing these faux commutes, because even though we used to complain about the commute and the traffic and all the things that were so that's right, Maria, you were from LA or lived in LA, right? I mean, God, so many people complain nonstop about the hours in the car, but now people realize what else they miss about that commute. Stopping at their favorite place, to get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, listening to their favorite podcast. This was a time, and they didn't realize it then, where they had a number of rituals. Mm-hmm. And when we lose our rituals, there truly is this feeling of loss. Mm-hmm. And so it's been hilarious that people are calling me and telling me that they literally kind of act out their commute in their house, or they hide in the corner and they're
going to start doing that.
I don't believe you. What does a faux commute look like? I need to know one good example.
Well, no, literally going for a walk. I mean, I'll admit, I did it one day myself. I walked to my office and then I walked home.
Stop.
And there was this sense of this safety, like, okay, things are going to be okay. My office is still here. Wow. Sarah Blakely, the founder and CEO of Spanx, talked about this a lot, even pre-COVID. For her, she lives very close to Spanx headquarters in Atlanta. And she realized that part of her best thinking was done in the car, but she lives too close. So she created this faux commute to kind of drive around for a while before she got to the office. Because, once you get to the office, as Jeff was saying, the emails start and this starts. And so people are taking that concept and realizing that, for many people, especially where I live in New York City, they're living in these small places. Some of them, their office is their bedroom, and you need to create that division. So for some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's their, deep breaths over a cup of coffee. Everybody has something different. And I think you'll like this. The question that I ask people for them to start thinking about rituals in their lives, like, where do we start? The question that I ask is, what do you do? And you can answer it if you want to. What do you do, Maria, in your life that makes you feel most like you?
Most like me? I mean, laughing for sure, but like, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't know how to answer that. I don't think.
Right. So it's it could be, for me, I have a morning ritual, and, I love to have a cup of coffee in the morning. And I used to realize that I would go and get my coffee and have I have it right here, my Moleskine, very old school notebook, and have my checklist and feel like Wonder Woman and productive. And it's not even 7:30 in the morning. And then one day I realized I hadn't even tasted the coffee. Kind of bummed me out, because I think about it the night before I go to bed. So I stopped and said, you know what? It was almost this moment where I was elevating this sort of everyday routine or habit into a ritual. And now I get my coffee, I take a few deep breaths. I mean, rituals are really connected to your senses. what you smell, hear, taste often. And so I feel the heat on the cup on my hands, and I feel it kind of go through my body in the morning. And again, what is a ritual? It's something that you can't imagine not being there every day. And so that few minutes for me is when I begin to feel most like me. And it's like that moment, to Jeff's question, of that transition from waking up to starting my day.
Okay, now it makes more sense to me. For me, it's being outside. Hands down, my ritual is I have to be outside. It doesn't mean I have to even move. I just have to be outside, breathing the fresh air and smelling it and like feeling all of nature. That is me. Yeah.
And you and I are looking at each other on the screen, but for those who are listening, like I could see when you were saying that, your body language changed, like your eyes even closed a little bit. And so, that is you. And a day's not going to go by, if you're in Connecticut and it's snowing, you have a coat on, but like you're going to make sure that that's a part of what you do every day. So for people listening with Zoom all day and working from home, it goes back to what you were saying before. These rituals, they don't have to cost anything. They don't have to take a lot of time, but they have a huge, huge impact on our health and well-being.
Yeah, I love it. Erica, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Maria, can I ask her one last quick question? Just very quick. Erica, what do you say to those people who are like, well, I can't be consistent with it. I don't know. Like, I love being outside, but I don't have time. I don't know if I even have 5 minutes in the morning. What do you say to those people?
I say I try to lead with the data and the science, and I just don't believe that. I think we make time for what we want to make time for, and I push back on them and I say, let me ask you this: does your calendar reflect your values?
Ooh.
And are you spending time with the people with whom you want to spend it and doing what you want to be doing? And I'll even say, pull out your phone, look at what you did last week and see where you can move some things around. And I push back on them because we all know we can make time for what we want to make time for. So if I have the naysayers that believe it's touchy-feely or believe that it's not going to have an impact on health or wellness, or in the workplace, I get a lot of, yeah, right, we have work to do. I try to lead with a lot of the studies that show the impact and get people to start slow. And maybe what I would then go back to them and say, well, maybe you're trying, maybe you're picking the thing that isn't the thing that makes you feel most like you. Maybe really stop and think about that. And that's the whole part about trying to design your own rituals roadmap that's really connected to you and your values.
That's a great point. That's why you don't stick with it, because it's not you.
Right.
Well, if you guys want to know more about Erica and her workshop opportunities, you can go to ericakeswin.com. We will link to that in the summary. And of course, her book is out today.
Yay!
Tuesday, January 26th. That can be found anywhere books are sold. We will include a link to it in our description. Erica, thank you so much. This is so fun.
I know. It was great to see you. I'm going to come stop by in Connecticut the next time I'm there.
Come on by. We'd love to see you.
We'll go for a walk in nature.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I would love that. All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye, Jeff.
you.
Bye, Kelsey.
All right.
She's so awesome.
I love that. I think, we all have to figure out what our rituals are. Do they reflect our values? And if we haven't figured them out, start making your list.
And I love that too. It's almost that, like, if it's uncomfortable and you are forcing yourself to do it every day, clearly that's not it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's where your gut checks have to come in life, right? If you're doing a workout that you hate, don't do that workout.
Don't do it, yeah.
If you're creating, a set of habits or rituals in the morning, that aren't working for you, don't do them. So
that's great.
Yeah, I think that was
For me,
really
it's
good.
Does your calendar reflect your values?
Yeah.
I was on mute back here, but I went, woo! I was like, that's one of those moments where you're like, if that was a guiding principle of the way we lived our life. I think Erin Faulkner said something similar when she came on the show to talk about her book, How to Get Shit Done. But I think that's a great question to just be asking yourself all the time. Does my calendar reflect my values? It's amazing.
Yeah, I
Love
think
it.
so too. All right, guys. If you haven't joined us on Patreon, now is a great time. Kelsey's organizing our next workshop, which at the $10 tier you can be a part of, which we will have monthly amazing guests with us that you will have exclusive access to. The greatest healers and experts from all areas of life. I forget who you said you're working on for
Cindy
Valentine's
Dale.
Day. Cindy Dale, great. For the heart chakra
That's right.
event. But even in the lower tiers, you get ad-free shows and extra shows and so much more. So join us over there. Of course, it helps us as well. Keep the lights on. If you want some more advice from another badass female business expert, you can check out Erin Falconer, who Jeff was just mentioning, talking about her book, How to Get Shit Done. It's episode number 115. Can we have our ritual, guys? With our refresher?
Yes.
Duncan.
We could have weekly Duncan refresher.
We should.
Because that's what you can have.
Yeah.
Since you can't have coffee.
I'm here for it.
Then you're included.
Thank
I don't
you.
want you to be unincluded.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome, Kelsey.
It's not like we're doing a hair growth competition.
Yeah.
That was
guys,
crazy.
I was dying. I'm like, well, did it go bad for her because she grew the longest mustache?
That was fun. I could have come in
Crying
with my leg
laughing.
hair. Come on, girl.
Tomorrow,
Be creative.
tomorrow, we have best-selling author Penny Pierce, who's considered one of the world's foremost experts on the world of dreams. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Me too.
Okay, she's going to speak to us both about the scientific and spiritual aspects of dreaming and give us strategies to remember, interpret, and improve our dream life.
Wow.
Guys, speaking of, remind me, I had the creepiest dream about my mom the other night. And so I have this helmet from Mexico that it's not from Mexico. It's actually from Germany that Mexico sent me. And we're supposed to both use it. And I haven't gotten all the instructions yet, but I had this dream that I put it on my mom and something was kind of short circuiting. And then all of a sudden, all these veins were like coming out of her face. And I had a freak attack and I woke up and was like, yeah. And I want to know what that means. And I'm saying it right now because I will forget by the time this happens
I
tomorrow.
want to guess interpret.
So mark it down. You can have your guess ready.
Okay.
I want you to write it down on paper and
Copy.
then you share it after she shares what she thinks it was. But it was scary.
Wow.
So we will be chatting with Penny about dream interpretation. Hopefully it goes well and she'll want to do one of our Patreon episodes so
I
that we
hope
could
so.
interpret some of our Patreon members' dreams. Hello. That's why you guys want to join, because we come up with cool shit like that.
That's right.
And, you know, thank you to all of you, our Heal Squad, for being on this journey with us every day. If you could share this with a friend, tell a friend about what we're doing here, and help us build this show, we would appreciate it. You know, we need every bit of help we can get. So thank you for that. In the meantime, you can follow us at Better Together with Maria, at Erica Keswin, at Jeffrey Crane Graham, at Kelsmeyer 2. And remember, it's Jeffrey's fault. What? Shit.
And remember, happy
holidays.
Happy holidays, guys.
Bye.
Remember, I'm choking on my snort. Be nice people. Make good choices. I'm going to start crying. I'm so tired. You know when you're so tired, you start crying?
Oh, yeah.
I'm seconds away. Be nice people. Make good choices. And be present.